Hello there. Thank you very much for watching. I am Harry Lee from Perchpeek, and I am delighted to be joined here by Tilly Firth. Tilly is the head of people and talent at Impala. We're extremely excited because this week it was announced that Impala are going to be launching into a partnership with Perchpeek, giving their employees access to the Perchpeek app, allowing them low cost and stress-free relocations as a company perk. Tilly, thank you so much for joining me. Firstly, in these crazy times, how are you?
I'm well, all things considered in these crazy times. Yeah, all very good, thank you.
Brilliant. And just to explain a little bit more to viewers, what is it that Impala does and what is your role within that?
Yeah, so head of people and talent, as you mentioned. So really I kind of deal with all things on the internal people ops side, which is, I don't know, things from culture to community building to onboarding and everything in between. And then the talent side, so kind of hiring great people. Impala is, in sort of very short, an infrastructure API for travel technology.
Awesome. So it's a really, really cool company. What was it exactly that made you join Impala and that mission?
Yeah, so I joined Impala about 2.5 years ago. I thought it was pretty cool what they were doing, the vision that they had for travel and sort of disrupting an entire industry sort of really appealed to me. So yeah, I think that's in very short how I joined.
Brilliant. And it feels that Perchpeek and Impala have quite a lot in common. Like you say, you're trying to transform that outdated hotels holidaying industry with a kind of modern technology. We're trying to do the exact same, but with the relocation industry. Has COVID changed your mission at all, or what you're going after at all?
So kind of, and by that I mean it's actually it's progressed us along a little bit further than we actually would have been otherwise, weirdly, because yeah, I guess, travel's almost reset, so it means that we've been able to sort of really get on with things and not have to worry about a few certain factors that were kind of barriers to us before COVID.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay. So what were those barriers before COVID? If you mind to elaborate.
I guess just really, the way people use travel, the extent to which kind of innovators and hotels are open to change, as well as kind of the makeup of players in the travel industry as well, really.
Wow, that's really but I imagine that is a sort of massive development area, and the fact that everyone's sort of looking at things from a new lens. And then
yeah, I think it's really an exciting time for travel tech. Actually, there's a lot going on across the industry. So yeah, I think it's really, really cool.
I cannot wait until June 21st, is it, or May 17th?
Oh yeah.
One or the other. And it's just announced that Cyprus are going to start letting everybody in who's had a test, and it's all suddenly start getting excited about summer again.
Totally.
On to sort of more your scope. When it comes to people and talent on your side, something that is incredibly striking is the benefit package that you offer to your Impalans. Beyond salaries, there's over 6.5 grand annually per person in additional wellbeing benefits, compared to sort of normal is less than 2 grand. And there's a massive breadth here, like healthcare support and training, all the way to loved ones budget and lifestyle stipends. It's awesome. Where does the drive for this exceptional support package come from?
I think sort of underpinning it all is really wanting to build kind of an inclusive environment. So the loved ones budget, for example, was so that our remote employees could feel kind of connected with family and kind of community. Yeah, and I think everything kind of stems from that. I guess like a second thing is that we really just quite like sort of treating people, we've got excellent people who work extremely hard. So very big for us is actually sort of rewarding that, for lack of a better word, and really kind of letting people see that we value that massively. So I think those two things are really are the core reasons behind a lot of the things that we do.
Absolutely. No, it's really awesome. I don't think I've seen anything quite like it in my experience. It's fantastic. On top of that spend, Impala has amazing flexible working culture. You're remote first. You're allowing people to live wherever in Europe that they want with extremely flexible hours, and that ethos actually goes back to even before the pandemic. Why is Impala so focused on the flexibility around the employee?
Yeah, again, like to the inclusivity point, I think the flexibility really just equals inclusivity. I mean, like we've always been remote. I joined 2.5 years ago. I was employee number 12, and we were remote even then. Really, Ben and Charlie, the two founders, decided, you know, before Impala even had a name, I think that the company they were going to build would be remote first. I think, you know, they knew great people in Europe that they didn't want to sort of not be able to hire. They didn't want to sort of exclude, I guess, anyone that, you know, couldn't or didn't want to move to London. And also, I think really they just kind of wanted to travel themselves and sort of live in Berlin, various other places around Europe. So really it was, I'm going to say not even a question, I think, for Ben and Charlie. You know, also we're a travel company. I think it just works really well for us. And also, you know, it really lets people balance work and life, which is, I think, always quite good.
And for yourself, did it take some adjusting, going 100% remote from day one?
Yeah, so I joined from a very traditional, you know, office-based job. And, you know, the remote aspect was something that actually really excited me about joining Impala, in addition to kind of the vision that they had and everything. So I remember telling my friends from like my old work friends, you know, I'm joining this remote company, and they're like, oh, working from home, like, yeah, right, kind of thing. Like before remote working was cool very much. So yeah, I think on the first day I was quite nervous about how it will be. I literally loved it. Like I could never go back to non-remote working. Yeah.
And have you taken advantage in sort of, you know, moving around a bit and sort of relocating and moving around yourself?
Yeah, so I actually moved to Australia for 6 months.
Wow.
My husband and I decided that like this COVID thing that everyone's talking about might get quite weird. Like, should we go sit it out in Australia for a month? And we ended up, you know, being stuck there for 6 months. But I mean, you know, the fact that we were able to do that and not worry about, you know, my work was really, really incredible.
And what was it like in terms of time zones? Obviously, you know, I've worked with people that are currently in Australia, but sort of we overlap between, I think it was sort of 9 o'clock evening their time and 9 a.m. my time, or something not far off that. How did that work for you in sort of being in touch with the team?
Yeah, so it certainly meant that I had sort of later calls. But really, I mean, for me, I really loved it, right? Because I just had so much deep work time, and, you know, that kind of asynchronous was really, really beneficial for me, and really kind of worked really well for the team as well. And so actually that, you know, the asynchronous that we were experiencing then was actually something that I wanted to bring back the concept of, you know, being able to get into deep work and not have to be on Slack and talking to people during the day, which is like a big, you know, it can very much distract you and kind of context switch. So our recent shift to async working, sort of a month ago now, is really inspired by kind of that, and the freedom that it allowed, and the sort of ownership of your own time and life was a lot to do with that experience in Australia. Yeah.
Awesome. And then, so given that you're, given how you're operating now, and the fact that you've committed to being totally remote to 2022, do you see that staying that way forever? Do you think there'll be any other changes as lockdown starts to lift at Impala?
Yeah, so in terms of how we work and, you know, the team co-location, we're not going to have a compulsory office. We do have an office provision in London that everyone's able to kind of work from and come to and visit. That will be the same, it won't be compulsory at all, really. But when COVID is over, obviously, we usually run co-locations, so like quarterly co-locations for the engineering team where they all get to meet up and work together. And we're going to bring back kind of away weeks, which is where the whole team can basically travel to somewhere together and spend the week together, which is quite fun. In the past, we've done, like south of France, Kent, I think Berlin they went to before I started, but yeah, so a few fun places that we're excited to bring back.
Brilliant, exciting places, and Kent. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, and you're now launching with Perchpeek in order to make flexible relocations a part of your benefits policy. Yeah. Where's relocations in this? What's driven that decision?
Sorry, what was the thing?
What's driven the decision to bring sort of relocations into your company benefits policy?
Yeah, I guess the thing is, again, we're a travel tech company, and genuinely everyone that works here loves travel. And it kind of, is a no-brainer almost to really allow that and really empower people to experience the world whilst they work with us. So no one has to, decide between Impala or, moving to another location. Yeah. And yeah, if we can play a part in that and really help people experience the world, then I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you had any Impalans already relocating because of that newfound flexibility?
Yeah, so we have had a few people that have sort of relocated in the past. So moved from Italy to France, or moved from the UK to Spain, for example. Just a couple of people as well are sort of planning on moving into Europe after sort of Brexit has happened. Wow. So sort of allowing that is very cool.
And your side, has it been sort of completely smooth? Has there been any major challenges in making that happen?
No, we haven't so far. So we've shifted to, it used to be a nightmare to employ people in Europe and across different countries, really a minefield. I used to personally have to sort of deal with various contracts and legal issues and sort of accountants from different countries and different jurisdictions. Yeah. Deal with the different laws and have different contacts in different places. Had to deal with a French micro enterprise, which is as expensive and complex as it sounds. So yeah, really a bit of a nightmare. But we work now with Oyster, so we use Oyster HR, who I mean, not advertising Oyster here, but they partnering with them sort of allows that flexibility. So it's super easy for people to actually now kind of be employed and move across Europe.
That's fantastic. And is Oyster in charge of, obviously you've got Oyster for that, you've got Perchpeek now for the movement, and visas? How do you do that for your colleagues?
Yeah, so in the past we've had Oyster deal with our sort of visas, sponsorship for people if they're based in Europe and they need a visa. But if anyone's moving to the UK, it's obviously not through Oyster, but we do provide sort of visa sponsorship for anyone in the UK.
Awesome. Is that fairly straightforward in terms of making that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it involved legal help, but it's fairly easy to set up as a sort of a sponsorship company.
Awesome. Okay.
I don't know the semantics around it, but it's fairly easy to set up.
Oh, awesome. Good to know. And then besides the relocation side of things, what are the other things you've had to look at to try and make this remote work better for your staff? For example, in terms of keeping a real sense of company culture, you mentioned your away days and stuff on a day-to-day basis and such with sort of the social side. Are there big challenges in terms of keeping that cohesiveness between the team?
Yeah, definitely. It involves being explicit on both culture and community. And I kind of refer to those as two different things. So for us, culture is just, our values. And I guess, kind of what we stand for and how we work together as a team, etc. Whereas community is the, day-to-day like socials, interactions, like promoting that kind of side. So on the community side, we do a lot. We have a lot of things in the calendar that people can sort of join in and sign up to. We have a wonderful remote experience manager, Michaela, whose job is literally to kind of, create these socials, create that like community and sort of, real meaningful sort of team bonding. And so yeah, we do a lot on that front. On the culture front and the values front, really, I think, for us, it's just being super, super intentional and explicit about our culture and what our values mean. And, it's quite tangible across the team, seeing our values actually be lived. So that's certainly something, if anyone was going remote, the first thing I would recommend is sort of how are you going to look at your culture and really sort of make that super, super strong and tangible.
Okay, so it's just being extremely vocal and yeah, like you say, explicit about exactly what those things are, because it's not necessarily gonna, I guess, seep in between people at desk space. It genuinely has to be sort of very loud.
Yeah, definitely. It's when you remove kind of the physical office and being co-located, it's hard to sort of acquire those things by osmosis. So yeah, the intentionality, very important.
Awesome, clear. And then I guess last question, just to sum up. Once these lockdowns lift and maybe you've got relocation as a sort of a very easy option to you now and going forward, where do you see yourself headed next in terms of your next work environment?
Well, that's a good question. I'm actually recently pregnant, so I'm actually moving. I'm moving. My parents actually live in Australia now, so I'm moving back to Australia with my husband again. It's just a bit of a safer place to be pregnant at the moment. So yeah.
Sure.
That flexibility is really, really pretty amazing. And that's where you'll find me for the next year.
Awesome. Well, no, very good to praise it. Congratulations, that's fantastic news. What a nice way to end. Tilly, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for joining me. It's been really good to talk to you and hear about everything. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where this partnership goes. And hopefully we can catch up again soon to hear how it's all going.
Definitely. Thanks so much, Harry.
Cheers, Tilly. Bye-bye.
Bye.